I think one thing we had been told at the beginning of recovery is that we were going to hit a lot of plateaus. Um, and so I was preparing myself for the days where TC just wasn't making progress. But it kind of took a very interesting evolution. During the hospital stage of TC's recovery, he was in really bad shape. And I think looking at it retrospectively, a lot of that was just being in the hospital. And the hospital is not a place to get better. It's not. So when TC was able to leave the hospital, he made just enormous progress really rapidly. There were days where it felt slow, but I also knew enough at that point that slow was better than nothing and that I wasn't going to see a miraculous evolution. He wasn't just going to jump out of bed one day and be okay. And so I accepted that pretty early on. That said, we didn't really hit a plateau, I think, until we got to the end of year one. TC's made really steady progress. When we hit a plateau was when we came back to live in DC after the end of the first year. And we knew we were jumping into what was going to look a lot like our old lives. I was going to go back to work. For TC, it was going to look different. He was going to stay home and take care of Jack a few days of the week and do therapy during the rest of his time. Because it looked so strangely like our old life, I think we both expected that the progress would just catch up with us, that the recovery would catch up with where we had made it into our lives, and so we could jump back into our old lives and TC would speak a lot better. But that didn't happen. We came back and it was still really hard, and we were like, wait a minute, we thought this was just going to be like our old life again, and it took several months for us to say, we're here and it looks similar, but it's not the same. And the recovery is still happening. It's very slow. It's very slow. And just because you switch locations doesn't mean it's going to speed up. So I think a lot of kind of gauging TC's progress has been our own perspective on it. Just really trying to keep our expectations manageable and notice the really small indicators of progress. Like TC being able to walk to the grocery store and get the correct groceries, the groceries we've asked for, and then bring them home, that's huge. That is huge. If I look back and I think about those days where I had to go to the grocery store alone because I would have been pushing a wheelchair and it was just easier to get a babysitter for my husband, that's enormous progress, and that's only been a year. So it really is incredible, but you do have to take yourself out of the moment and step back and look at the trajectory, because if you don't, it will feel like, I think Lee Woodruff said, it feels like watching paint dry. It really does. So you have to step back once in a while and examine the whole picture.